Hey everyone, this is Key Creative Studio and Master Drawing Japan. Let's make a point to draw every day. So today it's a little bit a different setup. I'm actually gonna show myself this time. I hope this might uh, be a little bit better for you in terms of like connecting a face with the voice. Today I wanted to talk about making your figures seem that they have like weight and gravity to them. And what I mean by that, I notice a lot of people like when they draw, they seem to have problems with making the figure or the subject that they're drawing seem to be like rooted in the environment that they're drawing it in. And some people might be very good at rendering the figure. However, it just seems to be like floating for some reason or the other. And like what seems to be missing from that. Um, I've done a little bit of work in animation. I've had the fortune of bringing many American animators here to Japan to do seminars at my workshops here. So I've learned quite a bit. Actually, most of the stuff that I really give the most weight to, no pun intended, um, really I learned from animation. And one of the most important things that I learned um, in animation was the importance of weight. There's a very famous animator, Mill Carl. He had this is one quote that he's always thinking about weight, and he says, I know where, where the weight is coming from. I know like where it is currently. I'm paraphrasing, and I know where the weight is going to. He he's able to visualize like where that particular figure like traveled to get to that point, even though it's it's just one frame, right? But in that frame, we have a sense of believability in terms of like how it's rooted, towards the ground, like where it came from, and like where is it going to. And it's little things like that that helps to create a sense of believability in the figure when we're drawing. So anyway, let me not talk too much, and I think I'll jump into it, and I'll give you guys some examples. Okay, so so over here, actually, I didn't really mean to make this an example, but my sketchbook is open, so I thought this might be good. So this little cartoon doodle, I have of a secretary, or like a pinup kind of secretary. Um, there's even though this is a cartoon, there's a sense of weight to it, right? Um, for some reason, we can believe that even though I have like this table or whatever that's set up here, we can believe like where the weight is being transferred to, and that's something like we need to have a sense of in the drawing, as we work these things out. Okay, you can tell that she's leaning, right? You could tell that her arms are supporting it here, and that even though she's leaning, this relationship between her hands resting here and her foot down here, that there's kind of almost like a triangular kind of balance that's being established here. So that's something you need to think about when you're drawing. Okay. um One of the first things that uh, you learn in animation is is the bouncing ball, right? Or it's like the use of like the ball, the sphere. And when I first started like learning about animation, one of my friends, like he told me that I needed to really get my head around like about the bouncing ball. And I was a little dismissive about it because I wanted to jump into you know walk cycles and stuff like that, which is ridiculous actually. You always should really start like with the absolute most fundamental basics in any sort of discipline, because all the cool stuff, all the advanced stuff, it's based in that basic fundamental grammar or alphabet, that creates it, right? So if you want to make poetry, if you want to write the great American novel, you have to learn the ABCs first, right? And you have to learn grammar, so that way you can have more license in terms of what you want to communicate, right? So the bouncing ball, it's kind of something like this, right? Actually, let me do it this way, this sort of thing, right? So the ball is coming down like this, and it goes bump bump, and then it flies out, bump bump, bump bump, and it slows up a little bit like that, and then it starts to go its other way. Okay, so the thing about the bouncing ball is we're starting to learn about the importance of weight, right? You notice, like, as the ball comes down here, what happens? It starts to change shape, doesn't it? Right? It starts to seemingly elongate, right? No, it doesn't actually literally elongate, but but in our eyes, because persistence of vision and stuff like that, it might seem that it's starting to elongate. However, this abstraction is very believable to us, because we are kind of believing like there is like a pull against it, right? And then, like, once it hits the ground, okay, like it squashes out, and then it pops up again like this, right? And then it goes back to its regular shape. So the part that I really want to focus on is really, well, actually all of it, right? But particularly this part where we start to see a change in the volume due to the weight, the forces, the weight that's acting on it. And that's something that um, I try to keep in the back of my mind, like, as I'm drawing the figure. See, like, whenever we have like a ball going down like this, right? We It's believable to us that this ball is being, like, pulled by gravity, right? Or fine, we don't have to use a ball. We could think of it as like water, right? Like a water drop, right? We've all seen, like, this water drop kind of thing, right? And that this very iconic kind of image implies a lot. It implies that gravity is pulling this down, and it's stretching it out, right? We've seen this a million times, so we don't even think about it, but that's, this is a representation of gravity and forces acting upon it. Because actually, like, when there's no gravity acting upon, let's say, like a water volume, actually it looks like that, because basically, all the forces are, they're just going out all over the place, whatnot. But, like, once you have gravity, then it starts to be, like, pulled in one direction, right? So it's really the sense of gravity, that makes it believable for us that something is real and in an environment, right? Because gravity is something that impacts everything, right? It impacts everyone and everything, everything from me, to the clothes I'm wearing. If I had long hair, it'll impact my hair. It impacts this pencil, falling down. So so it's something. It's like air, right? It's something that it's always around us, and it's around us so much that we don't even think about it, right? So let's think about like a figure, okay? So let's say I have, let's say, a woman like standing on one side, like I mean like with her weight on one side, okay? All right, so I'm just putting my gesture down here, okay? This might be a little bit cartoonish, which is okay. But you know what? I'll do this. Just to prove my point. Okay. 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 All right. So there's my gesture. So this is why I always tell you guys, and this is something I've been told a million times by my teacher, Glenn Villapus. Get the gesture down first, because it's the gesture that makes everything else work, because everything is going to be resting on that. So you got to get this part right. Don't overwork it. You just want to get like the general feeling here, right? Okay. But even at this stage, I'm thinking about weight, right? So before I get back to this, you know, when I think about my line, the quality of my line, like as things like get are like feeling the pull of gravity, I allow my pencil to get heavier, right? Because that's where we get the sense of believability of weight, right? Whether I do it like this or if I do it like that, right? I want to imagine like this is not just a line. That's a line. This is like a pull. This is like a pull. So you want to feel like a bit of like a pull, like when you're doing it. It's almost like you want to feel like if you're driving and you get to a curve, and you do that curve, and when you turn the steering wheel, right? You feel like the G forces are working against it, right? Okay. So anyway, let me keep going here, right? So I have my figure here, okay? I've just got my gesture. Now I'm gonna put down my volumes. Okay. All right. Nothing fancy here. This is just want to get something that is um, believable. All right. I'm just putting these volumes down almost as like blockers, because I really haven't gotten to like really like working like the musculature and stuff like that just yet. Okay. Boom, 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 boom. 10th rib. Okay. Sternum. Woman's rib cage is smaller. Okay. And we have elbow here. And then we have our hand here. And I'm gonna imagine like she's holding something. Okay. Oh. And it's female. So I'm gonna put some cartoonish but believable mune. breasts. Mune is Japanese word for breasts, by the way. I don't know if that's helpful for you or not. Okay. Anyway, and then here's my head, or her head anyway. Let me do this actually. Let me do this. Okay. All right. Good. All right. So here's my basic mannequin here, right? Okay. So now, even at this stage, I have like considered things like weight. Okay. Obviously, you can tell that this figure has more weight on this foot than this foot. Is a tip for you. Whenever a figure is like in a contrapposto kind of pose, or they have like one all their weight on one leg. The leg that is the supporting leg is always going to be the higher leg, okay, and the other one that's relaxed is always going to be lower, okay. Um, so when I get to this stage, it's really just a matter of really like fleshing it out, no pun intended. So what I do is, right, when I no, I know that the muscle is going to come out because it starts here and then it's going to insert back into here, right? And as I'm doing it, even though it's very subtle, I'm thinking about weight at all times. Thinking about weight at all times. Okay, there's a straight, here's a curve, pulling out, and then inserting back in. Okay, coming out, inserting back in. Okay. All right. Here, okay, a little anatomy for you. Here's the corner of the iliac crest. Okay, from there, the sartorius muscle actually drops down, comes into here like that. Abductor muscle. Okay. There's the muscles of the quad, which is like the vastus medius, vastus rectus, vastus lateralis. Okay, which are there. Okay, so I'm pulling out and I'm inserting back in. So I'm thinking about weight at all times. Okay. I just don't want to just do just like one kind of quality of like line, as I'm drawing. Okay. So it's a curve here. This is going to be relatively straight. It's going to be a curve like that. Okay. All right. So let me see what these fingers here. And make that a group, and I'll cover like that. When it comes to drawing hands, don't worry about it, really, because the more you worry about it, the more people will see it. So it's better just to get like the overall gesture, when you do this. Okay, don't worry about are people going to count how many fingers that I drew here? No, nobody's counting fingers. Okay, so here I put like a sphere in this character's hand, to pretty much like to give like a little bit of like a semblance of like weight to it, because obviously if she has this ball here, it has to rest in something. So you kind of have to create a sense of believability, like this is pulling down, this is heavy, right? So obviously, like this is not a light thing. I don't know, maybe she's gonna throw it at us or something like that. I don't know. It's a baseball or something. I don't know. Okay. The hair. You see how what I did with the hair? So the hair, you see how it's like it's falling down, it's getting wide, and then like pulling down like that. So again, I'm thinking about like how like gravity is pulling against that. Um, so if you ever have like, any difficulty like um, uh, drawing hair, you might want to also yeah, consider consider weight, because there are forces that are acting upon it, right? And that also has a big impact on the believability. Um, okay, let me see if I can make an appealing face here. Hopefully she won't be too homely. Okay, just about. Okay, even here, on the cheek, I pull it out and then I insert it back in. Um, this woman is looking a little too goofy, but it's all right. Okay, let me do something about. Okay. And let's see. Yeah. I guess I'll have to pretend like she's some sort of like sports player or something like that, or whatever. Um, okay. And what do about these? Okay, I guess I'm gonna do something like that. Okay, it's a bit funny, a little bit of funny character here. Okay. But I think you guys got the idea what I'm talking about. So look, there are of course they're little they're tricks such as I could put a shadow down there and but it's not the shadow or like putting a line for the ground that creates like the ability of weight. It's me like considering the weight all throughout this entire thing, right? Everything that's in this drawing is reading, pointing down, right? If I was like to drop again, like if I'm gonna drop a ball, right, it's gonna go straight down. So everything is feeding into that. We know that this is the supporting foot, right? We know that even though she has something in her hand here, there's a bit of a pull on that, right? This wants to go down, right? Even though it's not that heavy, but you can believe that this is something that um, she basically has to like support with her hand against gravity in order to hold it up in a believable way like that. Okay. All right. So I'm not gonna overwork this drawing, but I think you guys got the general idea of it. So again, you know, when you draw your figures, think about weight. Think about weight. Okay, so when you guys are drawing, please, you know, consider weight as you're drawing. You know, because that's what basically that's what roots your figures or your subjects in the environment. It creates a whole nother level of believability. Whether it's just like a little scribble, a little doodle, or you're doing like a full rendering. Okay. If it's helpful, you know, look at some animation books. You know, like look at Preston Blair's book on animation, and you'll see the examples of the bouncing ball in there. It definitely helped me a lot. Okay, all right. I'll see you guys next time. Take care.